We've seen people come in with a 670, 680, be able to get, approved for a lot of funding, and people with a 780 can't get nothing. It's not about the score. It's about the optimization of your profile.
They have the
Mhm.
optimization that you're referring to. So
Mhm.
then what would be the next step for them?
What you really need right now, especially in the times that we're in with underwriting being so tight and all that with these banks, you really need.
Today, we're going to be talking to you guys about how you can get $25,000 in business funding from Truist Bank. Mr. Lawan Hughes, so he can go ahead and break down to the audience exactly what you need to do. But listen, get your notepads out. Are you with us today?
Yes, sir. How you doing, my man?
Doing good, man. Doing good, man. Glad to have you here, man. I want to go right into it, man. I know that you've been helping people just in general. And that's why, man, we had to have you on the channel because there's so many YouTubers that's out here just giving false information or they don't, you know how that is, right? And people don't know what to believe and what not to believe.
I've been kind of in the funding world for about 10 years now. Tell you theory. I don't tell you something I heard or somebody told me like, no, I've done this. I've lived what I preach, and I went through it myself. I rebuilt my own credit, and kind of learned all this stuff on my own. It took me 2 years kind of just being in business and learning, all the trials and tribulations of how to go through these banks and really maneuver the proper way. So now that I figured it out and I've helped multiple people do it as well. So now I feel like I'm in a position to where I can really guide other people on how to do this the right way and quickly at that too.
What exactly do people need to have in place? How can they go ahead and get approved for this 25,000 with Truist Bank?
Yeah, so I think a lot of times, like especially right now, a lot of people are like got that old mindset when it comes to business funding. They think, oh, I need to build my business credit up. I need to get my PEDX score up. I need to get my DNB, my DUNS, and I got to get all these net 30s, things of that nature.
Right.
When in actuality, what you really need right now, especially in the times that we're in with underwriting being so tight and all that with these banks, you really need to leverage your personal credit. Like this is so important. It's the fastest way to actually get business funding is leveraging your personal credit. Now, I know a lot of times people think, oh, I don't want to put my personal credit into it. Look, trust me, it's the fastest way. And then at the same time, you're going to kind of kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. You're going to be able to not only build your business credit, but actually get access to the funding, which is, the most important part.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because a lot of times people, they don't put enough importance on their personal credit when they are, when they're building their business credit, because they're thinking, oh, well, my personal credit don't matter as long as I got my business credit in place. But then what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of these people just have LLCs specifically for business credit, but they don't even have legitimate businesses, you know? And of course, like you mentioned, that's where that personal credit is very key. So now, what things should people kind of have in place? What type of score should they have in place?
Yeah, so really, and I teach this on my channel so much, and just people that are in our mentorship and all that. But it's not about the score; it's about the optimization of your profile. We've seen people come in with a 670, 680, be able to get approved for a lot of funding, and people with a 780 can't get nothing. Because it's all about the optimization of the profile. So what that means is, having no negatives on your account, no late pays, no charge-offs, no collections, things of that nature. But also going a step further, people got to understand credit mix. Okay. So, having, two or three personal credit cards that have been open for like 2 or 3 years. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, oh, well, let me go get a trade line. Man, look, banks are they on that now? Like trade lines do not do what they used to do anymore. Getting authorized users, they call them inflated credit scores. That's not working no more, man. You really got to have it. So, you got to take that time if you don't have it to really get this stuff in place, get, some trade lines that have 5K, 10K lines, and I'm talking, when I say trade lines, I'm talking about personal credit cards, revolving credit, and then having credit mix as well, like having like an installment loan, which is a personal loan. It could be an auto loan, student loans, all that. It increases your credit mix, and it shows these banks that not only can you manage credit, you can manage multiple different types of credit as well. And this is what increases your optimization of your credit profile, which then makes you, in the bank's eyes, worthy. Not like I said, I'll stop right here because I could just go on and on.
No, man, listen, you dropping the gems right off the top because again, you're setting the expectations for what people need to have in place prior to, because a lot of these people, they're almost going in blind and just saying, hey, well, I got this score, like you said, the 780 who couldn't get approved, right? So
Happens a lot.
Yeah, so let's go further into that. So now let's say they got the credit profile, they have the
Mhm,
optimization that you're referring to. So then
mhm.
what would be the next step for them?
Yeah, so the next step will be to identify like, okay, what do I need the funding for? A lot of times people they just, oh, I
Right.
need business funding. But like what are you doing with it? Like do you need equipment? Do you need to like, pay for marketing? Do you
Mm,
need to buy a building? Like, it's a whole bunch of different things for a whole bunch of different type of industries. So that's
right,
the first thing. You got to identify what is that you need the funding for because all business funding is not made equally, right?
right.
So, some people might need business credit cards. Some people might need lines of credit. Some people might need term loans. Some people might need SBA loans. It's a whole bunch of different types of funding. So you got to identify what it is that you need to use the funding for. And then
Right.
once you do that, then, we can, you can build a strategy because that's what this is. We got to stop going in blind, not knowing. We need to know what the bank is going to do before they even do it, right?
Mm,
And that's what we call ethical bank hacking because now you're in the driver's seat instead of, always being, you on the
yeah.
bottom end of the thumb, so to speak, and you can't see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? We want to be in a position in the driver's seat where we know what's going to happen before it happens.
This is why we have Lawan on here. Okay. This is the opportunity. Listen, if there's any time you guys are getting the no pass out, this is the time to get them out. Because again, what's happening is, like you said, people they're seeing things and they're not really being prepared for it all the way, right?
Right.
Or they saw something or they got excited about something. Maybe it could have been, getting approved for, a certain amount of business funding and said, okay, let me go ahead and do XYZ because
Hmm.
they're thinking it may be like getting approved for like an auto loan. They think
Right.
it may be
Right.
getting similar to getting approved for like a personal loan, but it's not. It's most
Yeah.
definitely not. Now, why Truist, out of all these other banks that are out here, why do you think that they're able to give that kind of funding out?
Yeah, so talking about Truist specifically, the reason I like them so much is, they're a regional bank, right? So theoretically speaking, they're not for everybody, every state. Yeah, there's ways to get around that, but like as far as like with Truist, man, they got a lot of great products. And if you have an optimized score and you know like what they're looking for, you can really be able to run up a bag with Truist,
Mm.
knowing the criteria, knowing how to get in there and get it. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we love Truist so much. They're one of our number one funding banks for sure.
Wow. Okay. Now hold up. Let's take a step back. Now
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said they're one of your number one. Oh, sorry, one of your banks that you use. So now
Hmm.
that's the thing. How many banks? And you don't have to go through all of them, but
Hmm.
typically, if you have someone that is looking to, let's say, get 25,000 or more, how many banks would you essentially like mention to them or suggest?
Yeah, so like I said, it's not a one size fit all.
Okay.
This is not a cookie cutter approach. And that I think that's what people get mixed up is they think, oh, we can all go to the same bank. No, like Truist might be right for one person, person A, but person B, they may need to go to Wells Fargo or they may need to
Mm,
go to, another bank. So in actuality, to answer your question, it's hundreds of banks, man. Like it's hundreds
wow.
of banks that you can get funding from. But the key is understanding the underwriting criteria, understanding where you fall in, and then being able to have these banks meet you where you're at currently and lining those banks up properly in order. All right.
Mm,
Because you can
yeah.
go to the wrong bank at the wrong time and get denied. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Just because you didn't do it right. So that's why it's so important. Like you really got to have a strategy when you're trying to get business money. It's not just go into the bank and let me just see what happens. No, you got to have a real strategy if you want to really run up, like people see all the time 100,000, 150, 300,
yeah.
like all these numbers. It's possible, but you really got to have it planned out and have a strategy.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right, right. Let me ask you another question. So
Yeah.
now let's say if a person needs more than 25,000,
Mhm.
would you is that something that Truist you feel that could they handle
Oh,
something like
100
that?
oh, 100%. And specifically talking about that video, I said 25,000 because, I'm not one of these guys that's going to promise the moon. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Right.
get 200,000. Most people are not going to get 200,000 choice. Can you do it? Absolutely. But for the average person, 25 is really doable. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? And that's when you have, optimized profile like I've been talking about and having your ducks in a row. And how you would do that is, you going into the branch how we talked about in that video, going into the branch, sitting down with a banker. That's really important. Can you do it online? Yes, but building relationships, that's what banks like. we're going now in a time to where relationship banking is very, very, very important. So you want to start building these relationships because these branch managers, these relationship managers, they actually have the ability to push applications through sometimes when normally if you did it online, you might not would have got it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's why you need to go into the branch and do these things. But yeah, you can get $25,000 from Truist on one business credit card. All right.
Mm,
That's very possible if you have your ducks lined up, or you might need to do a 10K business, like two 10Ks, you can do it like that, or two 12Ks, whatever. Or you can do a 10K business credit card and like a 20K line of credit. I mean, it's a bunch of ways to
yeah.
skin the cat. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? But 25K is 100% doable from Truist. Absolutely. That's why I picked that specific number.
Wow. Okay. Now you know what, Lawan. See, man, see. I've watched a couple of your videos, and I said, you know what,
Mhm.
this guy not only knows what he's talking about, but he is thinking outside. Not I won't say outside the box, but he's thinking about what's best for the client, right?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
hit something on the head just a few moments ago. Is that the average person that is looking for business funding, and even though they may need 100,000, this is a good way for you to start, and get the 25 because, like you said, not everyone's going to qualify, for the
Mhm.
200,000 plus and things of that sort.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
man, that's huge. That's huge. Well, listen, I
Yeah.
know, of course, you got to go. Is there any other tips that anyone that they need to know to make this, this dream possible, with Truist?
Yeah, absolutely. So, some of the things I would recommend is just really honing in. Like, you got to know your credit, man. Like, can't nobody know your credit better than you do. So, I always recommend people, getting at the bare minimum, get a free Experian account, right? So
Right.
you can start knowing what's on your credit report. Seeing okay, what maybe you need to do or not do. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. But you got to know that ahead of time. So
Right.
download a free account with Experian if you don't have it, so you can at least see what your real FICO score is. We can't be checking Credit Karma. That's
Right.
Vantage score. That's not real. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta really get the information straight from the horse, right? And
Right.
that's Experian. That's the Equifax. That's TransUnion. We got to get our FICO scores from
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So we can understand. So we got to know. Again, I went over this in a video. Truist pulls some Equifax, right?
Mm.
So this is a part of ethical bank hacking. Okay, now we know they're gonna pull Equifax. So what can we do now? We can get our Equifax credit report in order, making sure our utilization is under 5%, making sure we don't have any late pays really at all. But if you do have some, make sure they're at least 2 years old, making sure we don't have any charge offs, any collections, things of that nature, public records, no BKs, all that stuff like that. And then making sure our profile is optimized, make sure we got at least about 2 credit cards that we've had for bare minimum a year, that's open, right? And then if you can get an installment loan like an auto loan, thing like that you already have it, great. If not, Navy Federal is a great way
Mm.
to for this aspect to get what they call a pledge loan, right? So
Right.
all that is just you basically borrowing your own money. You put up $1,000, they act like they gave you a loan for $1,000, and you
Right.
just pay back yourself, right? And that is an installment loan, and that's kind of increasing your credit mix. So
Wow.
these are the things that we want to have in
Yeah.
place, and once you do this, man, I'm telling you, man, you like, it sounds crazy, a lot of these people say, oh, 200,000, like, you can get it, like, it's really real, but you do have to make sure your profile is optimized to do so.
Wow. Man. All right. Well, listen, you just gave us the game. You just gave us the entire play, Lawan. Lawan not only covers, these types of, not just Truist, I should say, but on his channel, he talks about various other banks and how you guys can get in position, right now to take advantage of it. Many of our YouTube members, they have questions all the time about, business credit and how they can, start obtaining, some of this real funding.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, I was glad to be on here.